Well, welcome today to hear Allison talk about Allies for Teens, which is just a wonderful organization that she started all on her own, and it became a 501c in 2019, and it's grown from what, 8 houses to 13 or 14
Yeah,
now?
our last donation was 15 different group homes.
15, okay. So if you looked at the giving tree, you'll see that there's things on there for these teens, and I'm going to let Allison tell you all about what these group homes are like and why there's such a need and how she has stepped up and started this great institution. So Allison Byrne, Allies for Teens.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here, and I would have to start by thanking the congregation in St. Matthews. There are people in this room, Sarah and my husband Dan, who watch this grow from my living room. And I have a wonderful small TOSA living room, and so when I was trying to get all of this done and putting these bags and things together, I really needed space and growth. And I believed when I started this nonprofit that the community would step up, and St. Matthews did. So just want to start with an acknowledgement and thank you to St. Matthews Church, because we wouldn't be able to do the good work we're doing if it weren't for the people at St. Matthews, the office staff at St. Matthews, our pastors. Like, it's really been a gift to let this grow and let this happen here at St. Matthews. So I love, as we sort of try to figure out our way and our road through COVID and what the church means. Like, to me, the church really means the ability to reach out to this local organization and these local teams. So thank you to St. Matthews. Before I begin, this is going to be, and as I talk about Allies for Teens in foster care, I also feel a strong need to talk about foster care in general in the community of Milwaukee County in the state of Wisconsin. My background is I'm a certified social worker, and I have a master's in education. And sort of my heart was always in social work and education, and I think that having both has made it convenient for me to be a liaison with the community and these group homes. My interest also started on a very personal level for our family. So we are very fortunate, as I mentioned, I have to remind myself, I'm fortunate to have teens. I'm fortunate to have but we are very fortunate to have 4 teens as our children, and 2 are biological and 2 are adopted. And the way our journey started into foster care was our first daughter we adopted when she was 1. And if anyone has been through an adoption for an infant, it's binders and binders and binders of paperwork. And then they want to check you, and then they want to check you again, and then it's been 6 months, so they forgot to check you, so they'll go check you again and make sure that you are really, really ready for this baby in your home. And then, fast forward 6 years, and we heard about a child that was in our local elementary school that needed a placement and needed a foster home. And we had a wonderful 22-year-old social worker come into our house, and one of the first things he asked was, okay, when can you take her? And so for the difference between an infant and an 8-year-old was just binders and binders and years of paperwork, or awesome, you actually want to take a kid? Like, that's great. Like, want another one? We actually looked, and I mentioned my TOSA home earlier. As we were doing the teeny tiny home study, based on the size of our TOSA home, we could have qualified for 20.
Well, one room is 12, but yeah.
One of our rooms could qualify for 12 foster kids, and the other, yeah. So the difference between, there is such a tremendous need for homes and places and everything you can think of for teens in foster care. There is a need, but we could have been certified for 20 kids in our TOSA home, and we sometimes think 4 is too much. But depends on the day which one of the 4 is too much. It does not, yeah, but it depends on too much. So after we fostered for a year, and we wound up adopting our then almost 9-year-old, and the congregation here watched us and supported us through it. Once our house was stable, and for better or worse, it really was the easiest transition of the 4 kids. Like, her coming in was just like meant to be. Like, it just all worked out. Even though my 6-year-old, because we asked all the kids, so I had a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old at the time. And then, so we were fostering this 8-year-old. And so I asked all kids, I'm like, okay, so there's a kid, she needs a house. Should we foster this child? And the middle child, which to nobody's surprise if anyone's ever met Matthew Byrne, was like, all the babies. We should definitely get her and any other baby or person you can find, like, yes, 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 in our house. And my older one, who was born 4 years old, said, well, we can foster her, but we cannot adopt her. I'm like, okay, that's a step 1 anyway. And the 6-year-old said, okay, I would like a baby. And I'm like, well, a baby's not on the table. Like, it's either you get an 8-year-old as a foster, which we weren't exactly in the plan anyway. Like, either we foster an 8-year-old or I think 3 is great, honey. Like, what? So she thought about it a little bit. And she's like, all right, I'll take the 8-year-old. All right. So, but they all had some buy-in when we were fostering, and it was a pretty easy transition for us. So, year or 2 go by, our house is pretty stable. The social worker education piece of me said, I gotta call Children's Hospital. Like, where are all of these older kids? You see and you hear about babies that are in foster care. You see, maybe even in the grocery store, somebody that is, a wonderful friend or a wonderful cousin who's fostering baby after baby after baby and doing this good work and doing this gift. But where are the teens in our community? I didn't know. And most people I asked, nobody knew. Like, where are the teens that are in foster care in Milwaukee County? I called Children's Hospital, and I introduced myself. I'm like, okay, I'm a crazy lady, but at least I'm a certified social worker, right? Like at least, and I'm a former foster mom. Like, I'm not completely just a random person calling, asking for this information. And what I learned is that there was over 50 group homes, and are over 50 group homes here in Milwaukee County, some of which are a walk from this church. And there are, again, over 50 group homes of teens, and there's probably 100 to 150 teens in group homes in care at any given moment. And the quality, 3 years go by. This is an all-volunteer mission for me, by the way. Like, and Allies is a completely all-volunteer run mission. Nobody is getting paid, and 100% of the money we get in goes back out, and the items that we go in go back out to the group homes. But the children in the group homes are some of the poorest, with the least amount of medical care and mental health services in Milwaukee County. These are the poorest of the poor kids and least served in Milwaukee County. I have been in about 20 of the different 50 group homes, and the quality of the group homes differs incredibly. One group home that I was in didn't have enough seating space for the kids, and the refrigerator had fake metal chains on the refrigerator. Some of the other group homes, the wonderful people there are doing the best they can, and they're trying to make it nice. Some of the drop-offs that we've done, and I'll go into the specific services that Allies does, but some of the drop-offs we've done, and I always am constantly looking for feedback from the group home providers. Is what we're doing what you need? You are with these kids first time. Like, how do we make sure that the quality of the items that we are donating, the little things we're doing, are what you as providers are looking for from the community? And we always get feedback that thus far we've been doing pretty well. We're giving them what they want, and they appreciate everything. The providers, who are often working for very low wages, are happy to get the products we need to try to make these homes more of a home. And I'm a little spinning from my list in order of what I was going to do here, but I go into these homes, and when I do drop-offs, and at this point I am the only person doing drop-offs because the safety of the kids is paramount to the mission of Allies for Teens in Foster Care. And as a social worker, I can go to some of these homes, give them the stuff, and it's really important to me as a parent and as a social worker that there is no exploitation of these children. You know, I am, and the trick is to get the mission and get the word out without showing pictures and firsthand of these kids. And you will not see pictures published of firsthand of the kids that are in the group homes. And they are so appreciative of everything we give. When I go into the group homes, I always see the items that we give. Little towels that say blessed or grateful, little house decorations for the holidays. Like, they're the things that are up in the windows and displayed because the stuff that make our houses a home are the things that we try to give them to make their house a home, and I see it repeatedly. I see the stuff months later, I see the stuff that we bring to them that is there. But back to sort of overall foster care in southeastern Wisconsin. From my non-exact research, but I can speak to this, there's many kinds of foster care, right? There's home foster care, where people who are lucky that we are not fostering to keep the lights on and to keep the roof on our house. We're really fortunate and blessed that we could take in a child in the foster care system and it did not affect our family's economic means. And that is one kind of foster care here in southeastern Wisconsin. There's also the second kind of foster care in southeastern Wisconsin, and it's not bad because at least they're, like, most of the people I talk to, and you hear horror stories, but most of the people that are trying to do this have their heart in the right place. And they're people who live in their home and they take in a number of kids from foster care, and that is keeping their light on. The money that they get from kids in foster care is what they're doing to pay their bills, keep their light on, and that's a private group home where somebody lives there full time. So you have a guardian. You have one adult that is looking out for your welfare, and that is the second kind of foster care group home. And then there is the third kind of foster care group home, and that is the group homes that Allies serves. And this group home does not have an adult that lives in it full time. No, it is a rotating, paid residential care that is struggling. A lot of the people that work there are struggling, and from the licensees that I talk to, who again are mostly wonderful people trying to do their best, this is their job. They have this group home, it's a lot of work, it's not terribly lucrative, and they're trying to keep employees that are being pulled away by McDonald's. Because McDonald's is able to pay higher wages than the wages paid for people who are rotating working in the group homes. So that is the three different kinds of older kid foster care that you can see in southeastern Wisconsin. I'm going to show 3 videos during the course of this presentation, and one of the videos is going to talk about, and it's a lot, it's going to talk about some of the state, and this is from CBS 58, is going to show a video about sort of the vulnerability of these teens in foster care. So be patient with my IT guy.
Sorry here.
It was an abrupt change there.
Yeah, no worries. One
Yeah.
second. Oh, sorry. Just need to get it up on the screen.
That's okay. While you
Sorry,
get,
yeah.
no, sorry, thanks,
Chewing on
Dan.
it.
While you guys get that ready, I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of Allies part. Oh, here we go.
It's the end of the ad that they make you watch first, so 15 seconds and then we'll start.
I don't know if anyone's seen Christmas ads since Halloween. But, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully, we will segue into
Sex trafficking is happening across our area every day. And tonight, CBS 58 Investigates reports about one at-risk group, teens living in group homes and foster care.
Our investigative reporter, Kristen Barbarisi, has the story. These teens living away from their parents.
Sorry?
Did you push a button?
So? I apologize, folks.
No.
It's not your fault. What happens?
He has the hard job. Like, I just
Right.
get to sit here and talk and talk about turducken, which is the
Such a
whole-
fun little visit there. Racine County is filled with wonderful places that you
Sorry.
can
I'm
learn
thinking
so
that's
much
not-
from.
That's not the video we were going to show.
It somehow flipped to the next video, obviously, in their newscast, so anyway. All right, one more time. Here we go. I have not great reception here.
So,
Sorry,
I mean,
folks.
that's okay. honey,
Keep going.
thanks. Well, he does,
I'll keep this on mute and then when it gets rolling.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. So I contacted Children's Hospital and, oh, of course. Here we go. We'll try it.
Reports about one at-risk group, teens
Cross fingers.
living in group homes and foster care.
Our investigative reporter, Kristen Barbarisi, has the story. These teens living away from their parents are often preyed on by sex traffickers. We found several examples and learned why sometimes these victims are treated like prostitutes.
22nd and Greenfield on Milwaukee's South Side is an area known for prostitution. But what community advocates say most don't know is many of those people are actually trafficking victims.
So Milwaukee is known across the country for a place to come get your pimp training. It's often referred to as a mecca for sex trafficking.
And one of the most vulnerable groups is teens living in out-of-home placement like foster care or group homes.
They're out on their own. There's no parent or guardian with them.
In a study, Dr. Amy Obregon, the former commander of the Milwaukee Police Department's Sensitive Crimes Division, found from 2013 through 2016, 85 minors in out-of-home placement were victims of sex trafficking. And she says the real number is likely higher.
We have a lot of victims that just won't come forward and say they're being victimized.
Okay, there you go. That's, I think, where we wanted to stop it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So, and that's 85 minors, and I mean, we're not talking, if you look at the percentage of that over 3 years and sort of the number of kids in foster care, like this group is so vulnerable. So vulnerable. It's hard enough to parent teens in your house when you have all the resources. These teens are, again, the poorest of the poor and a rotating circle of adults that they themselves don't have a lot of economic foundation, nor often an education to sort of steer them and guide them. So I will talk about sort of the services that Allies tries to do, to these groups, and also talk about sort of our partnership with Children's Hospital. So everything I do, Allies for Teens in Foster Care is not a branch of Children's Hospital, Wisconsin. We are two completely separate entities, so I don't want to pretend like we have any kind of association with Children's Hospital, because we do not. But what we are is a friend to Children's Hospital, and I reach out to them and they reach out to me. It's very hard to advertise about the need for foster care and the need for group homes. They used to have some programs, and including in our library and our art gallery, where they have pictures of teens that need group homes, but ethically it was decided that was not the way to go. And so how do you share this story and how do you tell their story? Children's Hospital, they sent 4 social workers to a couple of our events, and we just have a good partnership back and forth, and so they give us flyers, and they are appreciative that we try to spread the word appropriately about foster care in southeastern Wisconsin and Milwaukee County. So you'll see some flyers and some other things for Children's Hospital. And we are just sort of one of completely underrepresented people trying to spread the word about these wonderful children and teens in foster care. So, okay, so there's this. Now we know there are 50 plus group homes. These girls are often, there's 2 or 3 group homes that specialize for teen moms we've been in, and there's a Christmas card over there that you'll see, like, made of art supplies that Allies donated to the group home, where the bigger hands are the hands of the teen moms, And the smaller hands are their children in that group home, and they made that little Christmas tree over there. And the caregivers that are there are so appreciative of, those are, all the paper you see and everything they did on the wall is all art supplies donated by Allies for Teens in Foster Care. So we have, this organization has been 3 years, and it's been its first year and a half in my living room. But we basically do 4 core services in Allies for Teens in Foster Care. We do a house distribution about 4 times a year. And if you look at our Facebook page, you'll see some of the items we bring. We bring the feedback from the group home providers says they love house decor. The kids get so excited. We bring them food, we bring them treats, we bring them art supplies. The group home providers often take these, legally they need to do at least weekly meetings for them, and they use our art supplies a lot. It's not official therapy, but I think art is often cathartic and is used very often for these teens in their group homes. So 4 times a year we bring these drop-offs, and if you go to our page you'll see that. We also have a micro grant section where we give specific grants up to $250, and we try to do about a 24-hour turnaround time for the grants for teens. And this is something we work, and it has to be a request by the social worker or another adult in the teen's life. This year we did glasses for a teen whose glasses kept breaking. We've done maternity clothes for pregnant teens who needed maternity clothes. We did, there was a boy who was walking back and forth between his group home and his sister's apartment. She was 18 and in her first apartment out of foster care. And I was looking at his shoes, and I was like, and I asked the girl, I was like, that's your brother, the shoes don't fit. He is a 13-year-old boy who had about size 14 feet, who was wearing about size 12 shoes and had a sweatshirt that didn't zip. And that's what he was doing to walk back and forth in the winter, between his group home and his sister's group home. We provide drops in the bucket. Like, we are not moving mountains in Teens for Foster Care. And if we got 4 times what we're doing now, it would still be a beginning of what teens need. So drop-off services is one of the things we do to the group homes. The micro grants is something else we do for the group homes. Part of the drop-off thing too, backing up a little bit, is our Christmas one, which is our largest donation. A lot of the kids, we try to give each kid their own presents and packages, and included in there $25 Target cards, which it's hard to get $80 to $125 Target cards, but it's by far what teens want, and they often by themselves or their other siblings in various places. Like, a lot of kids buy gifts with those Target cards, or they just want to be able to have that autonomy. So I really try strongly to keep and prioritize those Target cards for kids, because they don't get a whole lot of choices, and they certainly don't get a whole lot of new stuff. So having those Target cards as something new, and then we give bathroom bags and lotion and deodorants and a lot of the stuff that you may have in your children's or grandchildren's stockings. And we try and do high quality. And when I say high quality, I mean Target quality, not dollar store quality, because they're used to not getting high quality items. So when we try to do hats or gloves or scarves, we try to do quality hats or gloves or scarves, and homemade is definitely part of that high quality. And if you look at Allies for Teens in Foster Care Facebook page, you'll see this wonderful picture of a woman who works in the group home. She looks like she could be a kid in the group home, but she's actually a worker in the group home. And we had a donation last year here at St. Matthew's of hats and scarves in bundles with little ties on them, and we brought them in, and we brought them in for the workers that work there, because we try to give presents to them as well, for 2 reasons. One, they're poor and they need it, and 2, it makes it much more likely that the items will stay with the kids' items stay with the kids, because this group is also one that is most stolen from, these poor kids. So it works both ways. 1, they deserve it and they need it, and 2, it protects the items that we're giving to the teens in foster care. But she saw these 10 packages of hats and gloves, and she's like, oh, I said, no, those are for the workers. Those are for you. She's like, me? I'm like, yeah, that's for you. She's like, can I take anyone I want? I said, you can take anyone you want. You pick a color, you want. And she hugged it, and she was so happy. And she is just, that is a real true reflection of the gratitude we get when we drop off stuff. I go to these group homes, kids come help me bring stuff for the car. Thank you, ma'am, have a blessed day. Like, thank you. Like, all you get are sincere thank yous from these kids and the adults in foster care. Kindness, sincere thank you. We try to be a bridge to the community, and they don't have a lot of bridges to the community. So I talked about two of the aspects that Allies for Teens in Foster Care does. I also do a self-care unit where I sort of wrote, it came out of, I was walking one girl from a group home through Walgreens, and she was like, what is this and what is that? And she had talked about where she shaved, and she had gotten this information off the internet. So you can imagine a teen trying to figure out like how to groom themselves, getting information off the internet on what women do and what women don't do. And I was like, oh, no, honey, this is not what 95% of women in the world do. And so I wound up going into group homes, and I've given about 8 different talks in group homes where we start with soap and we end with talking about sex and how to protect yourself and what is in dangers and, reproductive health and everything in between. And most of the time, the workers there had never heard of any of this either. So it is an education for the girls in the group home, and it's also an education for the workers in the group home. And every time I start with teens in having this talk, I'm just another adult that's going to come here and talk about this crazy stuff. And by the end, they're all completely listening and engaged. This is something nobody told me when I was in teens. This is something that my daughters need to know. This is something that all women need to know, and it is imperative. And they all, I was like, now you know, and you can help educate your peers as well. And the women that work in the group homes also don't. So that is a third aspect of Allies for Teens in Foster Care is the self-care unit. And the last thing that we've done, I can't believe we've done this in 3 years. Like the last thing that we do is our art project and our art contest. So we have an art contest that is for people touched by foster care. And then we do it by different age groups. And so this one, here you can see some of the amazing entries. Dan, get the poetry geared up. And it is, it's a real outlook. And so, and I tied it to a spring art donation. So I go to the different group homes, give art projects, and then a month later I kind of go and give them a theme. You know, this year's theme was what keep me going. Last year was my dreams, and the first year was a place I feel safe. And if you don't mind, when we show this video, I would actually ask that the camera not be on the TV, because I'm going to show you in this room, and obviously I don't think I have to say this, but don't take a picture. This is not to be shared, and I don't want this recorded. But I'm going to show you a video of one of the girls in foster care, and her wonderful foster parents were there, and that she was there with her 2 foster siblings. And we were in doubt, because Sarah helps with the kindness. Okay, this girl said she's 10. Could she possibly have written this poem? Like, could this 10-year-old, and I believe, okay, she probably did, but all you have to do is watch this girl read this poem, and it'll show you every year. I'm like, oh, is it worth it? Is it worth it to do this art contest and do this distribution and all this work? And every year we've had somebody, just some kid, some teen, somebody just sort of explode with emotion. And it's such an outlet for kids, adults, and it's open nationally. I can't control sort of, were you in foster care, were you not in foster care, exactly what happens, but it's amazing.
It doesn't appear to airplay from here.
You want to try my turn?
So yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, folks.
No problem. Thank you. I mean, I could read the poem, but I would never do it as well as she did, so. If my technology guru.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. Tell you what, I'm gonna try it a different way for mine here, sorry, because it won't play off the text, so. If
Okay.
you don't mind, keep going and I'll
Yeah, no
get this going when I can.
Thank you. So we'll see if we can see her, and it might be a good way to conclude anyway with her poem. And I was gonna read what, there's another poem, you can look here, This House Is Not a Home, and that girl, her foster dad, her adopted dad, because she was in foster care for a long time and was adopted out, and there's just, these kids are so talented. There's just so much untapped kindness and talent and ability with these teens that often doesn't get a chance to shine. And sometimes it does, so that's great. So those are the 4 different areas of what I try and do with Allies for Teens in foster care. And especially with COVID and such, it is lumpy. You know, sometimes I'll do 3 self-care units in a week. Okay, so can we make sure the camera is facing away? Thank you.
Fresh off the line, glad, green like a promised catch, anxious, blue like the rain caught in the bucket, knowing that I can feel all these feelings and more, that it will always come back to happy, red like the beginning of the rainbow, like the beginning of a new day.
That was it. Sorry.
Yeah, so these, you know, and there's such beauty and passion in some of the art, and these are art pieces from this year. Like, this isn't even art pieces from the last 2 years. And you know, everything I do with Allies really just comes with the faith that, okay, somebody will help me. You know, like, somebody will help me, somebody will be the bridge, like, okay, I'm gonna get, like, I invite people to the library and I'm gonna try and do this art contest, and maybe no art shows up, you know, maybe we get nothing, but every year we've done it, we just have the most talented, wonderful, beautiful pieces. And I'm gonna try and finish my talk here by reading The House Is Not a Home. It was on my phone, but I'm just gonna take this one so I can actually read it better. And this is one of the winning pieces of poetry as well, and it just says, "The house that was not a home. What keeps me going is the knowledge of my past, and with that, the thankfulness of the present. What keeps me going is the knowledge that although I wasn't born yet, my life started in ruin. My 3 older sisters faced a life I didn't want to dream of. When is the next meal? Why is mommy angry? Where are we going? Until one day, 3 sisters became 2. I was whisked away from that house, which wasn't a home, away from my sisters, and into love and tender care. 1 month, that was all it took. I found a home, not just a house. What keeps me going is the knowledge of my past. I am blessed that I'm no longer in that house, but instead, I am in a home." Mm-hmm. This girl goes to Tosa East. Like, there are foster kids and group homes kids in group homes that go to Tosa East, that go to Tosa West. There are group homes less than a mile from here. There are group homes next to completely battered, shut out houses next door. Like, and the kids have no control whether or not they're going to the group home on 12th and North that has an abandoned house next door, or if they're going to one on Center, which has access to Tosa schools. You know, it's really pretty random where these kids are going to be assigned. Yes?
Of the 50 group homes, how many different organizations fund and run these?
These are all privately owned. This is for profit. So
So how many are there? I know.
They're private citizens. They're private citizens.
Private citizens.
Yeah.
I know
There's Courage House. Those are run by 2 wonderful gentlemen who started it. Out of their, people who start group homes, it's either a passion project, because we've delivered items to Courage House. Like, it's a passion project, or it's somebody, like, there's another woman, Dorothy, who's wonderful, who started one at a home her grandmother bought. And she was doing it informally, and so finally she's like, you know what, I gotta, she made it more of a formal foster care group. And it's a lot of work to manage, and a lot of the laws that come out of Madison are really down on group homes. And on paper, group homes are a really bad idea, right? Like on paper, it's much better to have kids in a home. Much, much better. But what do you do when you don't have homes? Like group homes are a terrible idea, but nobody's got the next idea. You know, like it's the idea we have. So when you change legislation in Madison, making it more difficult for people running group homes and making it more complicated and making more hoops, that sounds great on paper, and it might work for more rural areas, but in an urban area where you have this kind of concentration of kids and this kind of overlap all the time, like unfortunately, it's what we have, right? And not what we have, it's what we as a community, I guess we as a community, because it is our responsibility as a community to do better for these kids. So, any other questions? Like, yeah. Sure.
Oh, how many kids in a group home?
It varies between 3 and 8, usually.
Wow.
Now, if the state or the county, I don't know who funnels these funds out to the private people who have foster kids, are they funneling the same funds to these group homes to take care of the kids with shampoo and clothing and?
I mean, the economics are a little different. Like, and yes, they are on paper. They absolutely are getting money for the basic needs. But if you have a group home provider that only uses a certain kind of hygiene care and not another kind of hygiene care, like then girls may not get some of the things they need. There is a bulk shampoo, and what it will have shampoo and conditioner, but maybe it doesn't have the hairstyling product or something that a kid would like, or a kid would need. Lotion, you know, nicer lotions. A lotion, maybe you have one large lotion that they keep in the dining room, but to have a lotion that you're able to have in your room, and you know, and to try to keep it and it doesn't get stolen. Like, it's, do they have like their basic fundamental stuff? Yes, but, and it also really varies by who's doing the purchasing in, you know, with the product and what they see, you know. So, yes and no. Yes?
2 questions. How are the, maybe it's not consistent, but how are the school social workers involved in connecting with the group homes? And the follow-up would be, once they come into a group home, do they stay till they're 18, or is it very dynamic? They're in one, they go to another. I mean, once they come into one place, do they tend to stay there through the age of 18?
It varies a lot, and this, I'm giving you sort of secondary information, you know. So my observations over the last 3 years is there's a lot of in and out of the kids in the group homes. There's a lot of running away, sleeping on a friend's couch, getting caught back into the system, going back into the group home. So I think that it is a very bumpy road from going out of care and then sort of in and out of care, and having somebody willing to let you stay in their actual house for a month and then being sort of out of the system. And if they are out of the system, the group homes aren't allowed to hold a bed for them after a certain number of days, and so then they're not getting paid by the state. So then that bed is gone. And so then, you know, and so it is a very difficult, lumpy process on where these kids are and where these kids aren't. And I've been in the group homes. It's not a myth. Like, I've been in the group homes when a new kid comes in with a garbage bag filled with items. Like, that is absolutely, like, not a myth and pretty common. And so you'll see an overlap in some of the donations that we've made over the last 3 years, but it is not, it's because there's usually new kids and new kids in foster care in these group homes. The exception to that is kids with disabilities. And a lot of these group homes, in fact, most of the group homes I've seen, I also see kids with cognitive disabilities, and they'll stay. And are they getting the services they need? And the social worker answer is absolutely. Like, you know, the Children's Hospital social workers are talking to the state social workers, but you know, they're underwhelmed too, and they don't have the resources or time they need to track each kid in each place, and they're doing, I've never met a social worker that isn't trying their best. Also, the state keeps changing the legislation on and who qualifies at 18 for subsidized housing, who does not qualify at 18 for subsidized housing, and it's hard enough trying to do your kids' college applications and essays, and so for a kid and a social worker to try to make sure they're doing all the paperwork and learning about all of the things that need to happen is really complicated. And you know what's easier? It's easier to just sort of go in this guy's house and sleep on their couch and get a job and leave the job and quit a job, and then it starts there. But that Allies mission, and I try to keep my mission pretty small, right? Because if I tried to expand my mission to everything a kid would need and be everything to everybody, we would be completely ineffective and I would be sad. And it is like, I try to focus on, our target window is making lives better and being a bridge to the 50 or so group homes that cater to 13 to 18-year-olds. Any other questions?
Oh, I was just going to add, the super unfortunate thing about kids in group home care is that the kids don't pick what group homes they go to, but the group homes get to pick whether or not they keep the kids.
Yeah.
So like when a kid goes to a group home through what's called a CHIPS case, which is a foster care case through court, some group homes keep the kids for a very long time and they have great stability. Other times the staff says, you know what, this kid's not a fit, and they put in their 30-day notice, and then within 30 days the kid is moved to a different group home, and then maybe they run away and they don't have a placement, so then they come back to court and get a new placement. So it's very all over the place.
Thank you. Do you work in foster care?
I do. I'm the legal counsel for children's court judges.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your work.
Yeah.
So then they're changing schools?
They're supposed to keep the same
They
school.
tried, yeah.
A lot of them go to
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I guess what help do you as an organization, or what does your organization, or
Awesome.
need?
Thank you. That's my favorite question of the day. Honestly, like, cash and gift cards are the best things we need. We are all volunteer. None of these things go to benefit anybody other than our organization missions. And we, as you can imagine, one of the hardest things to get for like a Christmas donation is the gift cards. But during this not Christmas time, like, I am not the only person that can come up with good ideas to give a group home. And if you're like, you know what, I want, for my work, like, I want to do a bake sale, and then I really, like, you talk to me and be like, I had somebody say, like, they wanted to do a pajama drive. And we can do a pajama drive for one group home. You know, like, when you are coming up with ideas on how to help group homes, you don't have to be like, okay, I need to do this for 50 group homes. Like, how do I do this for 120 kids? You can come up with an excellent idea and do a donation and do a drive for one group home or two group homes, you know, and any nonprofit would probably tell you the easiest thing is financial, but it also is, you know, if you look at our website, it's fine. It's not awesome, it's fine. If you look at our Facebook page, I try to really like put on there sort of what we're doing. I have learned to be the accountant. We are a 501c3. You know, this is a little bit of a one-woman show. So if anybody really feels like they know about IT, they know about, you know, like it's great. It's a passion project for me, and I'm grateful for the support here at St. Matthew's, but I'm a little bit at mental capacity with what I can come up. I feel like I have to keep the 4 things we're doing, and I want to make sure I keep doing them well. But I'm open to suggestions and ideas as well. I will say no if somebody comes up with something like, do you need this? Something like, do you need gently used bed sheets? I've learned that I have to say no sometimes. Like, nope, I don't need gently used bed sheets for these kids. I will say no to more, like, quality control. I try to keep really narrow focus on the quality control for the kids and what we do as a mission. And to that end, if I tell any of the group home operators that we're coming for something, they're really excited. And we have a very strong relationship with our group home operators because they know we respect them and we deliver what we promise. If we say we're going to bring something, we bring something and we show up, which is not what happens to a lot in these kids' lives. So, yeah. Thank you. And on December, we're going to have a wrapping drive. There'll be, Nancy actually could even speak a little bit now. Nancy and Chris, I actually want to take a moment to thank Nancy and Chris. Because Nancy and Chris, will you stand up a second? So they have been tremendously helpful with the Christmas drive the last 2 years. And they will be helping again as we coordinate. We have bags for, we try to get toiletry bags, new toiletry bags filled with toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, and lotion, and chapstick, and African-American hair care products. About 90% of the kids and adults we serve are African-American. And so we look, stay tuned, look at the giving tree, look around. There'll be other, if it's Easter and you're like, what, I'd really love to, follow me on Facebook and you'll see some of the things I'm asking for. And if you have an idea, find me. Like, I'm open to ideas, and I may say, that sounds fabulous, I think it will be useful, and I think it would be received well by the group homes, or I may say, thank you, no, I think that sometimes, that's not helpful to them. And maybe you and I would even find it helpful, but they don't find it helpful, which is fine. That's not for me to change what they're looking for or what they need. That's beyond the scope of our organization. Thank you for your time. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.